So it's amazing, guys. Welcome wherever you are, whatever time in the world you're looking at this. This is a continuation of a journey we started in November. We came together for a conference called LEAP. We gathered a community of next gen leaders who are ready to really take a step forward. And we have some amazing ladies here with us today to help us talk through another part of the journey. So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.
Hello.
So I would love for you all to tell the audience a bit about yourselves. Let's see to be seeing pretty faces, right? I feel like the rose amongst the tones, or the tones amongst the roses. We don't know which one it is, right? Probably the tone amongst the roses for tonight, right? So tell us a bit about yourselves.
So I can start. So I'm Lorraine, as you know, all of you know. Multi-passionate. I've spent many years in the financial services industry. My love really is in customer experience management, sustainability, and really being able to connect with people. That I think is one of the things that I'm always keen on doing. So looking forward to having this
Definitely.
very interesting conversation today.
And I love that connection because that's what this is about. You're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yes, great. I love that. Nice to meet you. I'm Stephanie. I am a dentist by profession, and after coming out of dental school, was able to sort of move out of that mold and move into the medical aesthetics field. So I'm in the beauty field. I am the beauty doctor, and I help people just feel beautiful and confident and age gracefully and just have beautiful skin. And I started this business in COVID. So if it's one word to describe myself as brave, so I'm here to make you brave. I started it in COVID and said if it failed, then I would blame it on COVID.
Wow. What's your perspective?
Right?
What a perspective.
So it was the best thing I could have ever done, is just sort of take that leap and do something that was a complete pivot that I felt like no one else had thought of, and I needed to be in that space. And it's been 4 years, so I feel like I have a good little bag of successes that I could sort of impart to people. So here we are, and we're growing the business and really scaling. At this point, we're at the scale point, so it's an even more exciting next level sort of journey that we're on now.
I know there are guys listening to this, and I think that we're going to talk about it in terms of how to be brave.
Yes.
Especially in the midst of a pandemic at the size of COVID. Like, how do you be brave and still take a leap? We're going to come to that.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have this young lady here with us.
So my name is Ophir. My background is in advertising, brand management. I've worked with some FCMG companies, chasing target, sales, marketing, that kind of thing. 6 years ago, my husband and I started a business called the Container Cafe. At that point in time, it was kind of like, the new thing. We took a container, 20-foot container, and we converted it to a commercial kitchen, grab and go food, proper food, that kind of thing, right? And this year, we actually started our first restaurant, brick and mortar, which is Toast.
Love it.
It's an all-day brunch spot in the East. Nice. We know the East hardly has stuff, so, we add in something to the East. And I left my corporate job full-time and jumped all the way in. So that was really a big leap of faith, right? Didn't have it all figured out. I just know that, it was a lead-in from God in terms of doing it. It was long overdue, and, we just kind of needed to get it done. And now we fully into it, and, living by faith is like a daily thing,
And I love, one thing that I love that you said that it's your first restaurant. So that means that there's a runway for many more, right? No, ladies, let's be real, right? We had the conference, massive conversations in the room, persons left inspired, but not many persons have taken action in the direction of the purpose that they feel called to. I listen to you all, and you all are running, right? You're at the point of scale. You jumped from a container, 20-foot container, to our first brick and mortar. Was the gap between having that dream and really taking the step in the direction? What holds us back? And how do we truly run in a brave way towards these things?
So firstly, I would like to say that you have to be a dreamer. You have to have the dream. You have to be a dreamer, but you have to be a doer. So a lot of people they're dreamers, but they're not doers. And being a doer means that you have to be extremely disciplined and you have to work extremely hard. So there's a disconnect with our generation. Well, not so much mine, I'm a little older, but the younger generation where they are very hungry for the success, and it's a microwave generation where you see online everybody's being successful, everybody's showing you their successes, but you're not understanding what it took for them to be successful, and you are also not understanding for yourself what you need to do to be disciplined. So you don't know you need to wake up at 4 a.m. and start to make plans for that day. You don't know that you need to be planning for next year in September. You don't know that you have to be actually seeking out people who are much more experienced than you, who can really help give you sort of the blueprint, right? Because what you don't know is that a lot of people who are very successful actually don't know what they're doing either, but they had to work really, really hard to figure it out. So I think, so from my assessment, there's a gap where people are dreamers, but they're not doers. And it's as simple as them figuring out that they have to actually get up and work for this thing. Like, it's not just going to fall into your lap.
And I want to come to that, right? And so let's take it right there. You said the dreamers, right? Are we all dreaming? Or did something happen along our journey that our dreams died? Right? Let's be real, right? I'm listening to my kids now, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old that are talking about their plans for their lives, right? And I'm listening to them say their ambition, and I want to fuel it. But a lot of us, we walk down a road thinking that this dream is going to produce this outcome. It didn't for many of us. And then you have to reinvent something, right? How do we even get back to that state of dreaming again? And not just dreaming and having this far-fetched idea, but dreaming and really believing that this can happen for me. Did anybody have to walk through that?
So I will speak from a slightly different perspective, because I think that connects in terms of moving from a concept or a dream, and how I leap to actually materialize that into what it's supposed to be. I think sometimes there's this intermediate place where sometimes I call it the inner brand. You struggle with your inner brand.
Good.
And that sense of identity. So between my dream and what I see as a potential outcome, I'm now in this place sometimes where I have to figure out, how do I really challenge what my identity is pushing back against, to be able to move towards that? Because sometimes it's not necessarily a lack of wanting to put the effort out, but it's really that struggle with identity and seeing myself as being able to manifest that. Am I good enough? And there's some, in many people who do struggle with having that sense of identity, and their inner brand being challenged. So I think that's one of the things we also have to kind of consider. What do we do with people, and how do we challenge them to be able to level up to the point where they can.
And I see a lot of guys struggling with that, right? So they actually now call it the imposter syndrome, right? They call it the imposter syndrome. They talk about insecurities, and then the reality is persons don't line up to celebrate you in the direction that you're going in. As a matter of fact, they will line up to tell you that what you're going after doesn't make sense. Right? Or they may tell you that 10 other persons are doing it better than you already. And those are these deep voices sometimes that is very difficult to drown out.
I was about to say, Stephanie made such an important point when we were talking earlier about finding the mentors that you need, who can support you when you're dealing with those kinds of challenges. So I want to just kind of put that on the table.
So, and did you want to jump in on what she was saying? Yeah, go ahead and then I'll come back.
So, I mean, I think there's something that we all need something to keep us grounded, because there's a lot of opinions and there's a lot of, everybody has something to say, right? But I feel like you need something to keep you grounded. For me, that was the word of God, right? And my relationship with God, right? So I would always say that there's nothing really special about me, per se. I just think that the person that I've become is as a result of really believing what the word says about me and replacing that with all the negative thoughts that I have, even the self-doubt and all of those things as well. So reminding myself that anything I put my hand to do will prosper. I'm not going to fail. And just reminding yourself of those things all the time. And that's where I get my confidence from. So I think about it, like lately I've been thinking, if it were impossible for me to fail, what would I do? And just do it. Instead of thinking about, okay, what if this happened and what if that happened? And I am a chronic overthinker. I would think about all the negative things that could happen and try to plan for it not to happen. But you can't think like that, and really, I think it's like continuous self-work. Reminding yourself of those things, and it really does boost your confidence.
Good.
But you have to be intentional about it.
Let me ask a question, because I say we're taking a journey, right? We're taking a journey. Do persons try to skip that step? Have you seen that? Because you will work with young women as well to work with different persons. Are persons trying to skip that step?
Yeah.
And why?
Okay, so I'll just back up to a few points that we were just talking about. So firstly, imposter syndrome this word is thrown around a lot right now. It's a very big catchy phrase, and I do myself suffer from imposter syndrome. I sort of have this out of body experiences where I look at myself and I'm like, how is this you, right? But okay, so I'm very in tune to what is imposter syndrome right now. And I heard somebody say just this weekend at Tech Beach, a good way to overcome imposter syndrome is to not think, why am I here? Why am I not good enough? But why are they here, and what do I have to offer them? Okay, it's very, I'm probably not even saying it correctly, sorry.
But we're taking it good because good anyway.
But yeah, but it's very impactful when you think to yourself, I am in this room and I am here to offer something that you guys don't have, right? And you are here to offer something that I don't have.
It's good.
And you are here to, and basically you overcome imposter syndrome that way, right? Okay, so moving on from that, one of the biggest things that I think people lack in terms of bravery and in terms of taking next steps is an identity issue. So it has a lot to do with the fact that they don't fully quite grasp their identity. So to be honest, my identity is not my worth is not my career. My worth is not me being a mother, is not me being a wife, but my worth is who I am in Christ. So if everything was taken away from me tomorrow, including my children, everything, God was like, you know what, we're going to put you through a Job experience. Who I am is not all of the things that I've earned, the great business that I've started, my beautiful staff, my family. So identity really matters, because once your identity is very firmly rooted in Christ and the vision that he has given you for the legacy that you will leave on earth, which as believers, it is to bring the most people to know Christ in the deepest possible way possible while we are here on earth. If your identity is rooted in that, then you genuinely you cannot fail at anything, right? Nobody could take anything and pull any rug from under your feet. So what is happening is that I believe there's an identity issue where there's a disconnect. A lot of Christians or people, if you're not a Christian listening in, you don't have quite a full grasp on what you were put on earth to do. And you are sort of reaching for like success with money, success with accolades, success with just being in the world of prosperity, but you're not so much reaching for who does God say you are if you are successful. And so for me, there's a big disconnect there, and I feel that's what makes me brave, is that anything that, any business that I undertake to open, I see it as part of my purpose to be able to have more reach.
That's good.
Right? So if we're able to have more reach, we then can speak to more people. We have a bigger platform. We have more people listening. And when you have a bigger platform, then you're able to speak wisdom. You're able to impart some of the wisdom and knowledge that God has given to you to more people.
I mean, this song's good, right? It sounds whole and it sounds wholesome and healthy, right? So I work in corporate as well, and there's now a bit of a skew towards females in the workplace, right? And especially females in leadership positions, right? So I see a lot of persons taking on leadership roles, but that insecurity and imposter syndrome is fueling a bit of some toxic behaviors in the workplace, right? What's causing that? And how do we move past it? Because that is the same thing, right? Because you're moving in purpose. You're growing in a space. But are you making the progress that you want to make at the time, or the speed at which you want to make it? How do we correct some of those things that are happening in families, in businesses, in corporate, in society? How do we fix those things?
Yeah, I think you connected quite a few different
I try
points there, but I think one of the things I see showing up a lot in corporate spaces, you mentioned female leaders kind of rising to the fore, and I think that's happening not just locally but internationally as well.
And let me say this, right? Props to you guys. Props to every girl boss. I have a 6-year-old daughter. She's running hard after it. Props to you guys. You'll have to fight massive battles. You'll have to shout just to be heard and seen in spaces. So celebrating you guys. Huh? So don't get vexed in terms of anything which camera looking at you, right? Props to you, girl boss, right? So I just want to lean that in there as well.
Yeah, so many connected points in there, and I think one of the things I see a huge struggle with, and I think we kind of established that whole identity issue. And as you rise in terms of leadership, I think the ability to have that level of authority and still maintain your identity as a very feminine and that sense of being powerful, but that power doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an alpha. It just simply means that you need to be able to understand what your feminine power brings to the table. And so we find ourselves now operating with a lack of authenticity. Because we're trying to operate in a sense of power that does not lean into what allows us to be the fullness of ourselves. So as far as I see, that ability to be able to transition from lacking clarity in terms of what I bring to the table, what my purpose is, and being able to step into and stand in that power is going to allow us to operate in a healthier space, and absolutely sort of kick that toxicity to the curb.
I think this is back to the mentor thing. I forgot about that. This is why good mentors are important. Because, so for me, I am grateful that God allowed me to get married first. So I've been married for 22 years. Right?
I always try to figure out maths.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Don't try.
When you got married.
So I got married. So I've fostered a relationship with a husband in a I don't like to use the word submissive because people get vexed, but in a Christ-like marriage.
Good.
Right, where for sure my personality is the stronger one. We're not faking it here because people who know Ronan, he is so sweet.
He's a gift.
And so I have the stronger personality, but God was able to tame that and really nurture that wife, right? And then be a mother. So then you have to be very caring and nurturing, even though it's boy children I have, right? But then become a boss, and being a female boss, you can see very easily if those parts of you were not nurtured, you can be a real ragged boss. And usually the people that you hear about in the workplace that are terrible bosses are women. Usually, okay, there are some men that throw things at people, but usually women, there's some real shakedown women in corporate, right? And so I am grateful that God was able to nurture those parts of me. And now I have a whole team of women. It's all girls. So God feel like he's preparing me for the girl child.
All right. But, all right, Ronan, big up you, bro.
Right? But because that's a whole different gift. Nurturing girls is a different gift. Because I'm a boy mom, right? I'm rough around the edges. So what I wanted to say is that if you're not in a marriage, if you are not a mother yet, you need to find female mentors who are able to nurture that feminine part of you, but who are also able to drive that competitive business side of you also. Because there has to be a balance. As women, we bring such a gentle sweetness to a business deal that men don't bring. And I think what's happening is a lot of women are trying to be like men. They curse like men, they talk like men, they act like dudes, and God has created us so differently and so specially that we bring that to the business place. We are so empathetic. We are so intuitive. We could read a room. We understand what employees are going through, and we can maximize and multiply business because we are in tune with those things. And so I do think female mentorship is where it's at. And what I want to say, like, I'm a doer, so I like to have like active things that you can do. If you don't have a female mentor and you need one, you have to run down a female mentor.
Good.
You have to call them, you have to email them, you have to get on LinkedIn, you have to say, hi, I would like to be mentored by you. I'll buy the coffee. Can you meet me here? I think that people are too timid and really going after what it is they want. Maybe they don't know, so I'm giving you an idea, right? But you have to, these women that are in these positions are actually amazing women. And a lot of women that are in high positions, they want to give back.
Right.
But they're not gonna run you down. They're not gonna be like, hey, the Lord put me on your mind, put you on my mind, right? You have to run these people down and really want them to teach you,
Right.
even if you're not in the same industry. Something about that woman that you want to understand more about and learn more from, you gotta go after them.
And I love that. And I see OphirLewis not pretty corner down there. So just jump. And guys, I hope you're getting the massive value from this because I'm getting it, right? I'm gonna go back and listen to this, right? Oh, so it's
I mean, okay, so before we were kind of talking about, just to add to the point, before what Lorraine was mentioning about, in the workspace and women and stuff, right? I think another thing is women just not wanting to share information or not being, thinking that is a situation where I can't win if this person is winning, but really just openly share information is not that big of a deal. We could all win. We could all be in a space where we grow in, we develop in, all of that. But a lot of times it's a kind of catty sort of thing. She feels she better than this one, and I just being real.
We wanted real.
And I feel like if we change that narrative and that perspective, a lot more people could be impacted in a positive way as well.
Because that's my question, right? So I want to come there in terms of the horror, because Steph, let's be honest, right? In terms of the mentorship space, because I speak to young women all the time, right? Up to this week, someone reached out and can you have a conversation, right? And because I am a man, right, I have massive boundaries.
Yes,
I have
you should.
massive boundaries when having a conversation
You're a good
with
man.
females, right? And when I look around, I'm like, who can I connect them to? Who can I connect them to? Who can I have the confidence in that can really lean into this woman's life and give them the time, right? Because it takes time. And the reality is, women, you'll carry so much, right? You'll have to mother, wife, entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, and you still have all the other things that you carry as well, too. How do we find more female mentors? Do we need to find them? Do we need to develop them? Are there somewhere that we need to go and they're already there? How do we help women find those type of mentors?
I think there also needs to be, at a certain leadership level, the willingness to, Steph mentioned, on the one hand, seeking them out. But I think also to Ophir's point in terms of, I think collaboration over competition is one of the things that we need to kind of shift our mindset towards. And also the posture of those leaders who may be potentially mentors as well. You have to be seen as approachable. So there may be many young women who are interested in mentorship and maybe identifying leadership at a particular level. But it's also that level of approachability, because if I posture myself in a way that I do not seem to be open, then I'm unlikely to be able to reach out to you or inclined to reach out to you. So that willingness, I think it's critical.
No, I feel like I'm getting fired up, and our time is almost finished for this first conversation, right? Because I see the opposite. So you said in terms of there's women who want to pour back and give. I see the opposite, and when I have conversations and I pray for the discernment to understand it, there are women who they've rose to those prolific positions by fighting. Right?
It's true.
They had to fight and push through and compete with many more men who are less qualified than them, or the case may be, to get those roles, right? So they have risen to these senior roles, and they have massive battle scars.
It's true.
right? Massive battle scars. And it's almost like when other women come to them now, it's like, yo, you have to pay your dues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pay your dues and fight your battles. And I don't see women elevating other women and bringing them close and doing that nurture and development. It's happening with guys, and they call it a boys' club or whatever it is. And you actually hear those things, right? Where guys will open doors for another guy and say, hey, I know a guy who does this, and bring the guy into the room and do different things. You don't see that happening as much with women. At least this is from my vantage point. Maybe it's happening in some parts of the country that I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
Right?
this was fascinating. A few months ago, having gone to a TEDx talk in Lopino, and one of the presenters, Raquel Moses, who is into gender equality and so on, made a very important point in observing how the genders operate.
Right.
And you mentioned the boys' club, so that willingness to kind of pull their bros along, as opposed to what women typically do, which is not necessarily pull other women up, but to Ophir's point, we're likely to maybe suppress. And maybe some of that comes from that those battle wounds and that sense of you have to pay your dues as well. But I think there needs to be much more of a willingness to say, I did go through and I understand what you went through, and therefore I want to be a collaborator, a partner, a mentor, and be an active proponent to pull other women along. And I think opening up those spaces is going to create a lot more avenues where mentorship becomes an active go-to way to be able to build and create that growth and development that we're looking for the future leaders.
I love this. So again, 5 minutes, ladies, for this first episode. And say we're cutting it tight and tasty, right? If you all want more, you'll come to your next one, right?
And toasty. And toasty.
Right? We can't call it tight and toasty. We're trying to figure out the name to call this thing, right? But tell me, ladies, how do we orient? Now, of course, like for me, I may have a bit of a bittersweet taste in my mouth in terms of the older generations, that sometimes it's difficult to fight them, right? They're pretty stuck in their ways and different things. I believe we can teach old dogs new tricks, but there's some battles that it takes a lot to fight. But women like you all, right? Coming up through the ranks, what do we need women like you all to start doing to really create that culture of mentorship? What do you all need to do better?
I think it starts with creating spaces like this and conversations like this.
Good.
And it may not necessarily be physical one-on-ones, but probably creating a space online, sharing information. I think sharing information, that's one of the ways that we could start collaborating and using the online space.
I love it. Steph?
I think it's for sure a heart posture. Like, the heart has to change about it, because from little girls, we are pinned against each other in the school system. You will go through this soon with your daughter when she has to go through SCA.
Happening already.
She has to beat out everybody by 1 point to get her first choice. The girls, there's more girls sitting the exam than there are boys, so there's less prestige school spaces for the girls. They have to get 99%. So nobody's here to help each other. Everybody's here to get a first choice, right?
Right.
So that's ingrained in you from the time you're 7, 8 years old. And we grew up with that. We are a small society where, the fastest to the finish line will win. The most innovative will win. So it's a very copycat culture where once you do something, everybody copies you and takes your ideas and gives you no credit for it. So you really have to be on your knees and ask the Lord to give you the green light to give all your ideas away and give your heart and pour your heart and soul into other people, where a lot of, I don't mean to sound terrible, but many people are lazy. They don't want to do the thinking. They don't want to do the 4 a.m.s. They don't want to read the books. They want to come to you to get answers for everything. So I'm being honest when I'm saying for me, it's a hard posture. Like, my heart has to change, that I am wanting to be an open book and share everything. But I love and I desire the hungriest people. So the most hungry people, if you run me down, like you ran me down.
I did.
Like, I'm here, right? But I'm not super excited about making it super easy for access in terms of giving away all my information I've spent years gathering up, right? And I'm saying I'm a work in progress, right, guys? But I'm saying this is where it comes from. This is where the battle wounds and stuff, the battle wounds to get to this position, and the kind of things that you have to press through with men and women in the industry is something that is not easy to just roll over and say, well, somebody wants to go into aesthetics, let me give them all the answers.
Yeah.
You understand? So it is a tough thing, but we have to find, we have to have the posture of the more that we give is the more God will pour in.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and that is something that we have to continually ask the Lord to change our heart posture on. It is not something that comes naturally.
Yeah.
It has been driven into us from young that we are here to compete and we are here to win.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to lie and say it's something that's easy for me because it's not. But am I like super passionate about making people brave and believing in their dreams and wanting to make people take that leap to leave their boring 9-to-5 jobs and live their absolute best life on earth? Yeah, super passionate about it. Is it easy though to just kind of roll over and give away all your free information? No, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a work in progress. So we have to put ourselves in a position where we are reachable, where we are accessible, and then once we open up the access, people say, can I be a part of this journey with you? Can you help me? And I feel like that's where we need to be.
And as this is this last thing before we end this plane today, I think it's important for the heart posture for us at this level. Not if we're at any major level as well, right?
No.
We don't start, right? But I think the guys who are coming after us as well, they need to have the right heart too. And I pay attention.
Yeah.
I pay attention to see in terms of what you're coming for. If you're coming for the access, if you're coming for what we have, or if you're coming with a heart posture that you genuinely want to learn and see what we carry and how we carry things. So I think the guys who are coming up as well, what I pay attention to results. So I pay attention to persons who they have an idea, they have things they're working on, and they are working it.
And they have fruit.
They have fruit.
Yeah.
Right? Don't come with a seed in a pack and say, I have this, help me make a harvest out of it. Nah, show me that you have something in the ground.
Yeah.
And some died and some still growing and is still defending it. Those are the guys that will attract mentorship in a major way because a mentor is concerned about results. And not just results in terms of the outcome, but the person that you are becoming as you're growing and coming after us too. So I think it's important for you to have a heart posture as well, that I really want to learn. I don't just want to step up. I don't want to skip steps.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to show up. I'm willing to come into the space and serve for free.
Yeah, for free.
Right? I think those are the things that I need as well to unlock the heart of a mentor. Any last thing before we end this page for now? Because we have another major piece I want to talk about in terms of how do we get apart in terms of being brave and building.
Yeah, I mean, I love Steph's vulnerability to say that you may not necessarily be in a space of readiness.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually an active challenge right now to be ready. Simply because I think I've gone through my own cycles of and having had a very, I guess, honest conversation with my mom very recently about growing up and certain things. You know, we've heard the adages, little girls must be seen and not heard, and internalizing those things growing up.
My daughter hasn't heard that story.
But now recognizing, but now with a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old and recognizing that they did not get exposed to that and understanding what they were looking for and the kind of support they're looking for. My readiness and commitment really is not just to build that legacy for them, but also to make it available for what I did not have access to. To other young women who are seeking and yearning for spaces and content that allows them to be able to identify, this is actually who I want to be. These are the things that I need to do differently to be able to step into my purpose. So I think it's one of the things that we have to keep challenging ourselves, but I'm certainly up for that challenge,
And then, ladies, final thoughts, closing arguments.
My last thing is like, if you are hungry, you need to go get it. Like if you have a burning passion in your heart that the Lord created you to do something, you have to just go for
Good.
it. You have literally one life to live. You need to lay it all out on the table, and you need to take that step that's going to make you wake up and feel so alive. Like I work so hard. There's so many hours in a day, so much stress, maximum level, but it is a dream. Like I am literally living in a dream because you're doing something that you love every single day. You're building your own team, you're building your own culture in your own business, things that are dreams are made of. So I'm encouraging you that if you really are struggling with the just survival mode of life, like now is your chance to absolutely just push yourself and go for it.
Love it.
Yeah. Push past the fear. That's it.
Yeah, I'd say as well that these words have been impressed on me for the greater part of this year, and I think that we're all made for more. So like, again, just to your point in terms of that hunger, know that you're made for more. Where you are is not where you're meant to be, and to just continue to stay curious and to keep pushing until you get to that destination. Don't allow, as I said to you sometime before, your doubt to derail what your destiny is supposed to be.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's some bars right there. So guys, thanks so much for listening to this conversation. I hope that the value has been meaningful. Definitely message us, have some conversations, you can see how the thing goes, and stay tuned to some more conversation content coming your way. Chat soon.